Now, as a rule, I don't experiment. So I find what I like, I stick with it. But I went to the local town and hoping that they had, High Life in bottles. Well, even in cans in a pinch, but they don't even have, they have like the draft or whatever. Not something I'm interested in. And I had made this suggestion to them that they need to do that, but I do that one time and then I'll just buy someplace else. But I thought, well, I'll see if they have Pabst Blue Ribbon. Not an obnoxious beer, it's what my dad used to always drink. And in looking at it, I was hoping they had bottles, they didn't have bottles. But they did have this. So, like I say, experiment. They make all these kind of niche little beers. This is hard coffee. 5% alcohol by volume. I hadn't heard of it. I know they make like a lemonade and whatnot. People are always doing weird crap. Well, that's weird. Well, maybe you can't see it, but it's kind of a chocolate. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, with the vanilla flavor. Well, I don't know. I got 4 of them to go through. Kind of sweet. Reminds me of something, but I can't quite place it. But it's got a sweet edge to it that I don't care for. Well, I wouldn't buy it again. I'll suffer through those, but yeah, I can't quite place it. Reminds me of something, but it's sweeter than it should be. Yeah, creamy blend. Yeah, not my kind of deal. But I'm sure there's these people that are really into coffees that maybe are into this. I don't know. I had never seen it before. Okay, that is what I was going to talk about. Pelosi is on a little jaunt, or she's going to go to Taiwan and stir up trouble. She's been yakking about this for a while. There's no purpose in it. It's just that these people like to take jaunts and to stir up trouble. So she's going to go to Taiwan. And I think she's given out invites, trying to get other people to come with her. I'm getting tired of paying for these senators and Congress people going on these jaunts. I think they can foot their own bill for that. But anyway, she's trying to pack a bunch of them up and go over there. And the Chinese don't appreciate it. And in fact, we're talking that if they come in with fighter escorts, they're going to consider it an invasion and shoot them down. Well, so now they're in a bad predicament. We like to bluff all the time, and we can't get it in our heads that other people don't. Other people are real straightforward. like the Russians. They do what they say they're going to do. They don't bluff. And this bluff that she's pulling now, they're to the point now where if she backs off, it looks bad. But if the Chinese back off, they lose face in this deal. So unless they can convince her, because I don't think a lot of the politicians are on board with the idea of her going over there. It's just that she wants to take this jaunt. But if they go over there, I hope they load that plane up. There's a hell of a pile of Democrats and a bunch of Republicans too. They could all pile on that plane. And if the Chinese take it out, I'll send them a gift basket. They need to be gone. This is their free shot. They could do us a favor. We will be indebted to them if they can take that plane out. But at the same time, then I think we're sending a carrier into the vicinity, you know. Well, the Chinese are getting tired of that kind of nonsense. So this could trigger something pretty big, which is maybe what she's after. It could very well be. You know, they know they're going to take a beating in the midterms. Maybe their solution is to get a hell of a war going. But that's a good way to start it. You know, funny. She's a lunatic. Like I say, I'd be glad if the Chinese would take her out. It's too bad the pilot and the crew have got to go too, but it'll be just collateral damage if we can get rid of Pelosi. Because there's no good she can do there. She can only cause trouble. No, I don't think. I think it'll be hard to get rid of them other three. It comes in a 4-pack. I don't even know what they cost. I never even paid any attention. But they got this elegant slim can. I don't know. That must be a. I think it's a Czech thing. Kind of like them Virginia Slim cigarettes, you know, where they were made for chicks. I think that's what this stuff is for. I don't know. Or maybe like teenagers. Maybe just they think would be cool. I don't. It's like bad tasting chocolate milk. Over-sweetened chocolate milk. Oh, there was some pop. The hell was that called? It was like a chocolate flavored. Boy, I can't remember what it was. I had that one time. That's what this reminds me of. The name of that pop slips my mind. I keep thinking like Bosco, but it wasn't. It was a pop, but it was chocolate flavored and overly sweet and flat and very much like this. But evidently this has got alcohol in it. But I think that'd be a hell of a drunk. I think that would cure you of wanting to drink this stuff. Another thing I was going to talk about was, okay, now, Ukrainians who took a shot at that prison where they are holding the people that the Azov bunch that they captured earlier. They knew where this prison was. And they're claiming this was accidental, sort of. But they targeted with those HIMARS. Now, like I said, I think we've got our CIA people and, we got people on the ground there running them. So this wasn't an accidental thing. They purposely hit that prison. You think back, I mean, when they were in that steel plant, they were told not to surrender. But, they were supposed to fight to the death. But they didn't, they surrendered. So now, I think they're trying to kind of clean the slate. And they killed like 50 of their people, and our people, because there was some NATO people in that pack. So, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know a few of them Nazis, but I think it injured, well, I heard one time 50, I heard one time 150. But it was, I mean, they found evidence that it was the HIMARS system that hit. Though, of course, the Ukrainians are trying to say, oh, the Russians blew it up on purpose. They don't go blowing up, it's just nonsense. The stuff that comes out of Ukraine is so much nonsense. But, yeah, I could see, because a lot of those prisoners were talking. Were implicating other people in war crimes. A lot of them were quite happy to be out of this mess and were willing to talk. So I suspect they were just cleaning the slate. But when they ask like NATO and the UN, they say, well, we don't know. Well, we don't know. But I think it's pretty obvious what went on there. Because I think those systems are fairly accurate. Like I say, I do not believe that the Ukrainians are just lobbing them at random. Though later, that's what the Ukrainians were claiming. Oh, we can't aim them. We just shoot them. We need better systems. Well, I've heard before that it's actually, like NATO people firing them, that they don't let the Ukrainians near them. So this was purposely targeted to clean up people who could be witnesses against them later. Yeah, interesting. No. I'm regretting this purchase. I'm thinking I got 4 more of them. I don't know how you could make that drinkable. It's got this overly sweet and then an alcoholic taste, aftertaste. Well, she ain't for me. I'll have to look on the slip and see what I actually paid for it. But I will write that off as a horrible experiment. Huh, yeah. Well, I ordered some parts for this today, for this SR, because I have a suspicion I'm going to have to take this down. They'll pull the motor out. I don't think I have see, normally you can't do that. You can't. See, I'm down on compression. Because if that's a good compression, it stopped hard as a rock. This will ease past. So I'm down on compression. Now I have adjusted the valves, and that wasn't the problem. So it could be that I have a valve leaking. And I've got a lot of miles on. I put a piston in this a few years back, low compression Weisco, and low compression because you never know nowadays what you're going to find for fuel. And this one I'm out on the highway with, and I put a lot of miles on it. So I put in that low compression piston, And I ordered another set of rings for that because if I have to tear this apart, I've got, when I pulled it apart the last time, I swapped heads out. This was a head I had laying around. I'm going to grind the valves, replace the valves in a new head, in the head that was originally in here, and put that in here again, and then replace the rings. It's got to be one or the other. And as long as I've got to grind that head for the XT, as long as I'm doing that, I'll grind the head for this SR. And then when the rings come, I'll do a quick swap. Which is fine, because I was going to pull this head off. Because, like I say, this head is not the original one for the bike. It's the same as what was on there. But just for convenience, I had swapped it out one time. Though the cylinder is the same, it's a stock cylinder. So I ordered stock Weisco rings, so I continue to use that low compression. Though, if I can't imagine that there's a ring broke. I mean, they couldn't be worn because I put a lot of miles on. But it did come on a little kind of suddenly. And it isn't always there, which makes them think it's a valve. So sometimes, boom, solid on the pedal. Sometimes she'll, like I say, leak down. And if you don't have top compression on this, you got a hell of a time getting them started, particularly when they're warm. They need that compression to fire. So I'll pull that apart once those rings get here, but in the meantime I'll have to get that other head ready to go in here. And then I could do a quick swap on it. But it makes me think I gotta finish up that XT motor swap. That's the one that's apart on the bench. And then I gotta start on the other motor. So I got plenty of motorcycle work to do. That keeps me, but it's like a hobby. But I do have to have one bike running at all times. I mean, I use a motorcycle a lot in summer. So I'll grind ahead and then get that XT set up, and then, because I'm converting that XT, the XT I used off-road. But I'm converting that back to dual purpose so I can use it on the street again, putting on lights and whatnot. And like a speedometer, you got to have a speedometer to be legal on the street. And okay, I'll put a speedometer on it. That sort of thing. And I got all the parts I need to do all that stuff, so just a matter of taking the time. But I got the hay done. And I just finished the one township. The last couple of days I was working on the one township. I might have one day of road grading coming up if we ever get a rain. But in the meantime I can do the other. Start fiddling with this stuff. But the low compression on this, that worries me. Well, not really. I mean, it doesn't worry me. It concerns me to the point where I quick ordered a set of rings. Because I got everything else I need for it. I normally keep a lot of that stuff on hand. I mean, I could actually even go back to the stock piston. I have like 3 of them sitting there. But I do like those Weisco pistons, but they take a different ring than the standard Yamaha. So I had to order in at the same time I ordered rings for, this is 87 millimeter. I have an 88 millimeter piston that's going to go into another motor I'm building. So I ordered rings for that too, because that's a Weisco, but that's a 10-to-1 compression, which, in a time of chancy fuel, is not something I'd want to run on the street and count on being able to find the right fuel. This is quite a little lower. I don't remember what it was, like 9 or 8 to 1. Not that high a compression in the first place. Still got plenty of snort, but at least you don't get that pinging and knocking and overheating kind of deal. But I like fiddling with that. That's a nice hobby, particularly when they're all kind of interchangeable, all the motors and parts. So like I say, I could actually pull this motor out and dump a whole different motor in. I've got motors. But I'm trying to get things back to their original position, so. And then sometime, in between all this stuff, I got to put that LaFon motor in that Franken bike. That's all ready to put together, but I just get distracted with this other stuff. Well, and then that Grizzly distracted me for a while. And someday I'm going to work on that again. Now that I've run it for a while, I've sorted out other small issues I want to deal with. And I want to replace the radiator hoses and the thermostat. And to do that, I got to pull that plastic front end off again. So as long as I'm doing that, I'm going to do the valve adjustment, now that it's run for a while. And get that out of the way, then it should be good for a while. And maybe do an oil change on it too, as long as I'm digging in it. But it works. I did find the starter relay is a little weak. I ordered a new one of them. Sometimes it doesn't want to start. The starter doesn't want to kick in. But the solenoid will heat up, the little relay. But they're like $9. The good thing on that stuff, parts for that Grizzly are really relatively cheap. And the good thing is they didn't change them a lot. They kind of stayed the same over the years. It's just a bugger working on it. I like things being out in the open. There's nothing out in the open on that thing. Well, the starter relay is out in the open, I guess, because you just lift the seat that's underneath. But the one time I actually had to take a wrench and short the starter solenoid out to get it to start, to get it to crank over. When you got a new top end, there's a lot of compression, and a single cylinder is hard to start with an electric starter, even with their special compression release device on there. But she runs good. So that'll be useful. I've been using it, running back and forth while I've been haying. No, it's a definite failed experiment. Well, we'll have to see what happens with Pelosi. I'd love to see her go in to drink, but I don't know. I think a lot of people would say, thanks, if they can ditch her. But there's a lot of other ones that should be on that plane. And then take the whole pack out. But, eventually, she's going to have to answer for a lot of the stuff she's done and is doing, like her insider trading deal and stuff. I know what's going to happen is after the midterms, people are going to actually start having to look at that stuff. She's going to have to come clean on some of that. It's going to be a battle. But I'm hoping they get at that before she's just playing up and croaks. But if that's what it takes, if they got to dump her in the ocean to get rid of her, okay. Just glad to see her gone. And a lot of people are. Any time that comes up, the idea of her plane getting shot down, everybody's all for it. good riddance. But I'd like to see, like, Lindsey Graham, the whole squad could go on there. She was putting out invites, so I'm hoping you can get a bunch of them on there. That's just, if the Chinese don't shoot them down, we should shoot them down. We're constantly flying around over there. Got that carrier headed that way. Take the plane out. Save us all a lot of aggravation. If you could only get Harris on there, Biden on there, but no, there's no way you're going to get them all in one spot, unless the Capitol building. But even then, you know, they aren't often there together. They're going to take a nuke. That's a funny thing too, where check camera's still running, yeah, because I tend to go on. Where the mayor of D.C. is all shook up. You know, they're going to be a sanctuary city. Well, then the governor of Texas and I think Arizona, they've been busing refugees and dumping them off up in D.C. You know, they're trying to do it with everybody else in the country. Well, by God, dump them in D.C. Now she's shook. She wants the National Guard called up to handle this great influx of refugees that she was all for until they dumped them in her backyard. But like I say, they got to get off to Delaware, up where Biden lives, dump a bunch of them off there. Pelosi could use a lot of them out there. Anywhere that's calling for to be a sanctuary city, and give them something to work with. But they're not happy about that. They're really freaking out, which is good. But then I did hear some rumblings about, well, they were going to start building on the wall again. Well, God, it's a little late now. You know, I mean, they should have done that a long time ago. I was thinking of one day when I was talking about those A-10s, well, hell, don't be sending the A-10s, you know, because they say how much drugs is coming across the border. Think what a handful of A-10s could do patrolling the border. That'd be a very strong hint that would put an end to these cartels in a hell of a hurry. But they said, you know, how much of this fentanyl is coming across the border is just crazy. But, yeah, that's what they want. They got her. But now they want to build the wall. Yeah, so they'll wait to close the barn door. Damn. That was kind of a horrible experience. Yeah, gives you a little bit of a shudder. You know, hang on to them. I don't think I want to drink them, but I'll run into some yuppie someday that has a craving for some kind of a weird chocolate flavored beer, which ain't my kind of drink. There is nothing, it's cloying, that's the word, cloying. But there was a pop, or they called it a pop. It wasn't really a pop, but it tastes a lot like this, except this has got an aftertaste of alcohol. It's like somebody put a little shot of whiskey into whatever the hell that pop was. Yeah, it just completely... I drank one of them, or a couple of them one time. Somebody was convinced that this was a good thing. This weird chocolate soda. It's horrible. Like I say, flat. But this is even worse than that. Kind of sweet. That other was just not good.